Welcome to the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Hello, Heisman.
Chuck Conrad with a kickoff. Roy hits a strong leg, end over end. Sanders takes it 1 yard deep to the end zone. Up the middle, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. He's at the 40. He's at 45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 50, 10, 5. Touchdown, Cowboys. Just like last year, a same story.
And the winner is...
Here's your host, Chris Houston.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the official Heisman Trophy podcast. We're recording this episode from Los Angeles, California, and the reason for that is we had the opportunity to talk to 1964 Heisman Trophy winner John Huarte out of Notre Dame, and we got to do the interview in person in his beautiful Palisades home, not far from the Pacific Ocean, so that'll be coming along a little bit later in the episode. But first, the quarterback for the Indiana Hoosiers, the number 16 team in the country, the surprise team of the country so far, 6-0, already bowl eligible, averaging 48 points per game. We're talking about quarterback Kurtis Rourke, currently leading the nation in passing efficiency. Let's get to him right away. Kurtis Rourke, otherwise known as the Maple Missile. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Tell me about the origins of that nickname, the Maple Missile.
I believe it came from when I was at Ohio. The social media team kind of tweeted it out one time, just come up with creative nicknames, I guess. And, Maple for being from Canada, and then the Missile just being a quarterback. And so I think it's pretty creative. Yeah.
Well, let's keep it going. I'm going to call you the Maple Missile from now on when I refer to you. So Indiana off to a 6-0 start with you at quarterback. Best start for the Hoosiers since 1967. Which was also the last time the Hoosiers went to the Rose Bowl. Now you guys are college football's first bowl-eligible team. What factors do you believe had contributed to Indiana's early success so far this year?
Yeah, I just think we're really complementing each other on all aspects. Our defense is playing really well offensively. I think we have a ton of talent that's able to rotate in a ton, and so that's contributing a lot to our success. Just being able to get the ball in playmakers' hands has been a big key for sure. And then just trusting each other. We've competed against each other all fall camp, gone against really one of the best defenses. I think maybe the best defense we've gone through all fall camp. So everything that we've seen this season, it hasn't been new. And so just being able to trust that, we're going to be able to make plays. Our defense is going to be able to get stops. And just relying on that and knowing that. So,
well, you're completing 74% of your passes so far, averaging nearly 300 yards per game passing, 14 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. You've twice been named the Big Ten's Player of the Week so far this season. You've clearly elevated your game since arriving in the Big Ten, and your coach points to your level of experience and maturity. But what do you attribute this big jump to in production, despite playing against arguably tougher competition and playing with a brand new team with a whole new set of people that you don't really know?
Yeah. Coming in January, it was definitely a new scene. Got to get to know a lot of new teammates, new program, new, game plan, scheme and all that. And so it was definitely a challenge, but the good thing about having so many new transfers coming in is that you're all doing it together. You're all learning, the whole offense together. And so that really helped build chemistry a lot faster than I think it normally would have. And so I realized quick that I had a ton of great talent around me on the whole offense, and offensive line has been awesome so far. And so you just didn't want to overthink anything, kind of just, do what I can, do my job to get the ball in the hands of playmakers, let them do the rest. And I think it's been evident that we got players all around that can just go do that and help the team out just by getting the ball in their hands.
You guys are averaging nearly 48 points per game. This is clearly one of the nation's best offenses. Tell me about Indiana's offensive scheme and how it plays to your strengths as a quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's the way that Coach Shanahan calls the plays is really impressive. The way it's designed by him and Coach Tino. I think it's one of those offenses that has answers to everything. And so you're not just going out there hoping that, you're going to be against this certain coverage. It has answers to all of them. And just being able to recognize that and understand that whatever defense we're going against or on that play, there's an answer to that. And I think that's a lot of what goes to our success, but also goes to just the fact that we can rotate so many guys in and they can have such a good impact. There's not really a ton of drop off, if at all, in our quote unquote second string kind of thing. And so I think we can just always have fresh legs and always keep going on. So.
You seem to have great on-field chemistry with your receivers, especially Elijah Surratt. And 4 of the top 5 receivers in the rotation are also transfers. How did you get on the same page with those guys in the offseason so fast?
Yeah, just getting reps, really. Elijah was one of the guys that came over from JMU, had been in the system for a little bit. And so he was a big part in helping getting all the transfers and all the new guys up to speed to kind of how the offense is run. And so I spent a lot of time with him in the off season, especially the spring, and just getting to know, the offense as a whole kind of thing, and what the timing would be like. And he did such a great job bringing everyone else up to speed as well, not just me, not just the quarterbacks, but the whole receiver room as well, because, ultimately he wanted to win. And the more we're on the same page, the better chance we have to do that.
You grew up in a suburb of Toronto. What's football like in that area, and what motivated you to focus on becoming a quarterback?
Yeah. Ever since I was young, I've loved watching football, loved playing sports in general, but football really spoke up to me and really found a passion for football early. It's not as popular as it is in the United States, but it was still offered, and it was still a great opportunity to play and enjoy it. And from a young age, I knew I wanted to play football as long as I could. And so, we were just able to create those memories and everything growing up. And quarterback was something that I enjoyed for so many different reasons. The opportunity for leadership, the fact that, you can, a lot of the offense runs through the quarterback. You get to touch the ball every single play. It's just those aspects and that, I really enjoyed and have carried on until, today's day. So.
You like to be right in the thick of things when it comes to football, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We've seen a lot of great athletes coming out of Toronto and the surrounding area over the years. Why do you think there isn't more attention paid by that area by American recruiters?
I think just geographically, it's sometimes hard to get to, and I think it's also something that's still growing in competitiveness. A lot of those great Canadian football players end up transferring and going to do a prep school in the United States just to get that exposure, because it's been so hard. But I truly think it's becoming a lot more popular and to go recruit in Canada. Because there's, a couple gems hidden in there, and that, football is becoming more popular, just even in high schools and everything like that. So, I think it's tough because it's kind of out of the way, but again, I think it's going to be, getting more and more popular to start recruiting in Canada for sure.
Did you guys ever go across the border into like Niagara and all that when you were growing up? During my years there, my high school never did, but some surrounding high schools did. I think my brother did as well when he was playing there just a couple times. Mm-hmm. You followed your older brother Nathan to the University of Ohio. Was there ever any doubt that you were going to go there? And what other schools did you consider?
Yeah, it was just like we talked about it, coming from Canada, it's hard to get recruited. And so combine that with I hit my growth spurt a little bit later. Looks I wasn't really getting as many looks as those, you could hope for. But thankfully I had a lot of I had my foot in the door with my brother already being at Ohio. And so I was able to get some interest from Ohio, obviously, but also some other MAC schools, just kind of because Nathan did so well and was doing well those years. So they kind of heard of the name. And so, I attribute a lot of my opportunity to get and play Division I to my brother, because he was able to set such a good example and also let me kind of get my foot in the door, like I mentioned. And so, Ohio was one of the best schools in the MAC anyways. And so even if I had every offer, in the MAC, I think I would have chosen Ohio anyways, just especially at that time. all the consistency that they've had in the history. The coaching staff, Coach Schultz was there at the time. He was the one that recruited me. And so that ultimately spoke to me and why I wanted to go there. And also the opportunity just to play with my brother and for that 1 year.
And you had to know that the MAC had the reputation as cradle of quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, good quarterbacks coming out of there. Obviously, Big Ben being the main one, but yeah, they fostered some good ones for sure.
For 7 straight seasons, Rourke was quarterbacking the Bobcats, which is a pretty cool stat, I think. Given that background and history, how difficult was the decision to leave Athens in the first place, and what factors eventually led you to go to Indiana?
Yeah, it was definitely a hard decision because I created so many relationships, so many memories, and connections with not just people and my teammates, but just the town as well. They had their arms open ever since I got there, and so it was definitely hard leaving. But I knew that for a business standpoint, from a football standpoint, it was the best decision for me to try to look elsewhere and look to play football somewhere else. And so when I entered the portal, had a good amount of calls, but Indiana spoke out to me really, talking to Coach Tino the one day, and then later on Coach Signetti, just their vision and kind of what their blueprint was for this first season. They were still packing up and getting ready to move to Indiana, but still wanted to lay clear about what their vision was, what they had in mind for this year. And that kind of aligned with kind of what my thoughts were. And so it was a real clear choice for sure.
Seems like that vision is coming into being. What do you like most so far about living in Bloomington and playing for the Hoosiers?
Yeah, I love the talent. I mean, especially as the season's gone on, the town has really bought in and has shown, immense support. I mean, we look at the 2 away games that we've had this year, all the way in California, the Rose Bowl, and then last week at Northwestern. Both games felt like home games. We traveled so well. Indiana fans have been nothing but amazing. And so just the way that they've accepted and supported IU football this year, couldn't be more grateful. And so that's probably my favorite thing about this town, because they're just so into it, and I love that.
Yeah, I was curious about that because Indiana is historically known as a basketball school. What kind of buzz is there on campus right now? Are you walking around and people are, you haven't been there that long, but are people starting to recognize you and saying, hey, that's Kurtis Rourke?
Yeah. Sometimes I'll have a couple people recognize me and say something. But for the most part, I try to lay low and just try to focus on the next week. But I love hearing about the buzz because, that this town is like I said, a great sports town. And I'm glad we'll be able to give them some football excitement for a little bit.
You got married back on February 17th of this year to Carolyn Clippard, who played volleyball for the Bobcats. Congrats on nearly 9 months of marriage. How's married life treating you so far?
It's awesome. I couldn't be more happy to be married to Caroline. She's outstanding. She's one of my biggest supporters, and someone that I just love being able to share life with and go through life with. And she's become an IU fan real quick, and it's been just a blessing in my life for sure.
That's awesome. Back to football. You guys just got off a bye week. We're recording this in Thursday, but people are listening to this coming into the next Saturday's game. The back half of the schedule is going to get a bit more difficult. What's the mentality of the team right now as you prepare to host Nebraska?
Yeah, obviously the second half is the most important half of any season, and so we're definitely not taking any of it lightly. But we're just trying to stay consistent and not get complacent. We've had a good start to the season, but we're basically just starting a new season now, and going into it ready to continue doing what we do, not try to overthink anything, and just prepare like we do for every single week. We always have the mentality of going 1-0, and not worrying about the past season or past weeks, and really just trying to attack that week, the same speed, same mentality, and kind of just get ready as as we can for Saturday.
And we can't have a Heisman podcast without talking a little bit about the Heisman. When did you first become aware of the award, and who were some of the past winners that you really enjoyed watching?
Yeah, I've been a college football fan for a while. Always loved watching it growing up, and so I've been pretty aware of the Heisman Trophy and just being able to acknowledge and recognize all the great players. I date back to the Heisman Trophy with the Peyton Mannings, the Ryan Leafs, the Randy Mosses, and surprisingly, none of them ended up winning that year. So it's kind of one of the trophies that awards that is quite an honor. And so just to be recognized in that, I'm very, very honored. Just look forward to the next half of the season. So.
Thank you, Kurtis Rourke, for coming on the official Heisman Trophy podcast. Good luck against Nebraska, and good luck to you and your team the rest of the season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. The Heisman is handed out every December, but the history of the trophy lives year-round at Heisman.com. Home to the most iconic trophy in sports, Heisman.com tells the stories of all 88 of our winners and features news, bios, and statistics on all your favorite Heisman heroes. Heisman.com also highlights our Heisman humanitarians, the many charities supported by the Heisman Trust, and so much more. Make Heisman.com your first stop for all things Heisman.
This is Archie Griffin, 1974, 1975's Heisman Trophy winner, and you're listening to the official Heisman podcast.
John Huarte won Notre Dame's 6th Heisman Trophy while leading the Irish to a turnaround 9-1 record in 1964. The Irish were kind of going through some tough times in the late 50s, and John Huarte, with new coach Ara Parseghian, helped return the Irish to glory. Born and raised in Orange County, California, Huarte was a star quarterback at Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana. You might remember them from such players as Matt Leinart and Bryce Young, who both went on to win the Heisman Trophy. He chose to attend Notre Dame, but barely registered on the radar for the Irish in his first 2 seasons, attempting just 50 total passes, and he did not even earn a letter before winning the Heisman Trophy as a senior. Truly one of the great surprise wins for the Heisman Trophy in its history. As I mentioned earlier, the Huarte family welcomed us in to talk with John in person at their beautiful home. So let's get right to his interview. All right, we are here at the beautiful Palisades home of 1964 Heisman Trophy winner John Huarte of Notre Dame. John, thanks for joining the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
You're very welcome. And my wife, Eileen, is here also.
Oh, yeah. The lovely Eileen Huarte is here. I heard a rumor that you met her in an elevator.
I did.
In New York somewhere.
It's right. Shea Stadium. That's the first time we met each other.
Uh-huh. Tell me that story. What did you do? Did you did she talk to you or did you talk to her?
Oh, I forget how it happened exactly. I knew that I was going to get to meet a nice lady there through a friend of mine who had set it up. And then after she was done at work, we went out and had a real nice time, and we started dating and got together, and here we are.
Wow. Now that was your rookie. Was that your rookie year?
It was.
Yeah, and you were also there at the same time as Joe Namath. You guys were both
correct,
rookies, right?
Right.
You got any good Broadway Joe stories?
No, he ran the show, and he was colorful, and he went on to prove that he can make the AFL.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to Orange County, California. Your father was a former minor league baseball player, and you guys had Orange Groves. And I hear that you were quite adept at throwing back then, but not necessarily footballs. You were really into throwing the oranges, and that was what helped develop your arm strength.
That was our typical recreation, was orange fights almost every day. Mm-hmm. I'm one of 5 boys, and my dad had played pro baseball, and he was farming, and he had great control with a fungal bat so that you could play pepper, and that's where you catch the ground balls, and if it goes through your legs, you have to go to pigtail, which means you back up everybody else. Oh. So we had these typical games, and baseball was a good part of it.
Yeah.
And then later, modern day high school and football and learning to quarterback. It was great fun.
Yeah. Do you think the motion of throwing a lot of balls when you were growing up in Oranges, that helped you develop your arm strength, do you think?
Oh, it definitely does. You know, you throw a lot and your arm just kind of takes over on its own.
Yeah.
So my brothers, we all had good arms, but you throw every day.
Yeah.
So quite naturally, you get better and stronger.
Why football over baseball?
And it wasn't over. I played baseball also, but that was in the springtime of the year.
Got it.
And football was it's exciting. Coach Corey was the lead coach at Mater Dei at that time. And my brother had played football at Mater Dei. So I got there and I had some real strong teammates like Litzinger and Dave Filippo and Mike Adams and just a group of guys that were good athletes. And also, too, we got a lot of attention. And we liked that.
Was Mater Dei a power program like it is today?
It became a power program during that time. And they won their first championship. And I think it was about 60 or 61 along in there. And then they've been strong ever since.
Now, you were obviously Mater Dei is a Catholic high school, and growing up at that time, Notre Dame was not only the great Catholic power, but was the great power in college football. What was it that attracted you to the idea of playing for Notre Dame?
Well, my brother went there. My coach, Dick Corey, had gone there. So there was a natural influence. And I thought that'd be a dream for me to go to Notre Dame. And as it turned out, I got a scholarship and went.
And that was Terry Brennan who recruited you?
No, Joe Kuharich.
Oh, Joe Kuharich, okay. That was kind of not a lot of people remember that this was kind of a rough period for Notre Dame football, especially in relation to just the previous period under Leahy, Frank Leahy. Despite that kind of rough period, was it still like pretty exciting to go to Notre Dame? And was it like the idea that you would be there to help turn things around?
Yeah, certainly. I thought I'd go there and do great things. And of course, my first 3 years, I didn't play at all.
Yeah. What was it like going from Southern California to the colds of South Bend?
It was just weather. And I thought, I always felt like it's cold in their huddle too. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. You have your first 2 years. Of course, you have the freshman year where freshmen aren't eligible. Then you had the 2 years where you didn't earn a letter. I think you threw maybe how many passes? Like 50 at the most, or 40?
I don't know.
Something like that. And then your senior year, Ara Parseghian comes in.
Yes.
And what was it about Coach Parseghian that just changed things for you and the program?
It was the total change. He had been with Tommy Myers, his star quarterback at Northwestern, throwing to Paul Flatley. And I was on the other side of the field watching, and Jack Snow and I were next to each other, and we'd see him complete and do things. And we'd say, we can do that. But Kuharich and DeVore chose not to use us. They had a different view. So when Ara Parseghian came into Notre Dame in that spring, and he himself was learning what kind of material he had, we had pretty good material, running backs, linemen, receivers, guys like Snow that were not used. And Parseghian gradually molded us into spring ball. We were effective. We moved the ball well offensively. Then I got hurt that spring and got tackled and slammed my right shoulder into the turf.
Jeez.
That was at the stadium at Notre Dame in a spring game. So I limped off the field and bad shoulder. And then I had to patiently let that get back to normal, which it did. The collarbone going into the clavicle doesn't have to connect.
Yeah.
And mine was separated.
Wow.
But then after a period of time, it's sort of on its own. I could start throwing again. I played swim, played handball, and started throwing the football a little bit. And gradually the strength came back. So then I had full strength. By then, practice was over for spring ball, and we returned for the summer and fall.
Now, was the spring ball, was it a tough competition for the quarterback job? What was that competition like? Who were the other people who were trying to become quarterbacks?
Well, there was several guys who were trying to become quarterbacks.
Started quarterback, yeah.
And it was, parts of it were pretty tough. But it was easy for me because I was just doing the same thing I do all the time, trying to throw the ball accurately, which I did.
Yeah.
And then Eric could see that would be a combination, Huarte Snow, and then it turned out just that way.
Was it pretty frustrating to finally, show your stuff for a new coach and then you get hurt? Was there an understanding that you would have to, when the fall came, to compete again to get that starting job?
There was no understanding. It was just obvious, at least to most of us, that the one that can play and play the best gets to start. And it worked out fine for me. And then we came back for the fall practice. And you could see that on offense, we're moving the ball well and doing most of the things that Ara wanted to see. And Tom Pagna was the backfield coach. He was very helpful. But Ara was terrific at analyzing the different talent, putting some guys on defense that should be on offense and vice versa. And then offensively, I got the inside track and went on to be their quarterback.
Now, earlier in your career, was it a single platoon system? Did you have to play defense as well?
No, only very little.
Little.
Yeah.
Okay. And Coach Parseghian's offense, how was it different from Hugh DeVore's or Joe Kuhara's?
Oh, very much. It was very simple. We had a slot. Backs were usually in an I formation or split in the backfield. Tight end would be Phil Sheridan would be on the left. And then on the right, you had in the slot Snow, who was a good advantageous spot for him to be in.
Yeah.
And then there'd be another receiver on the right of him. So you had the slot right and a tight end on the left and a running game.
Yeah.
And it worked well together.
Yeah, you definitely threw the ball more than most teams did at that time. And the numbers you produced were just outstanding. Jack Snow, obviously the great receiver, your favorite target. How did you guys develop that chemistry so quickly?
We'd gone to summer school together, and we went off and practiced on our own quite a bit. And so as Jack was running down the field, I could pretty much read him and throw the ball inside or outside or wherever he was. So our timing was pretty good. When he turned, the ball was in flight and on its way there. And so that sense of timing and sense, just like you'd play basketball in your courtyard, you follow the other teammate, you know what he's doing, and your passes are on time. It's because you know each other.
Yeah.
And we had that.
You guys got up to a great start, 9-0 to start that season. What do you remember most about, especially the early part of the season when you guys started rolling? When did you guys really start believing in yourself as a team, and you knew that you had a great team and you could really make a big difference nationally?
Well, the very first game was against Wisconsin on a rainy day, and I threw a deep ball to Jack Snow that he was in the end zone, but the ball went through his hands. I wasn't worried about it because I knew we'd do it again later, and we did.
Very confident.
And a little bit later, we hit Snow deep in the corner. Then we hit him deep again. And I think we had some other shorter passes to Phil Sheridan. Bill Walski was in the backfield. Nick Eddy, a good running halfback. Joe Farrell, a good fullback, who would also block. And Joe Cantor, another fullback. We had some good ball players. And the offense was really pretty simple, straightforward. We didn't have any negative plays. And it just came together much like we had done in practice.
Yeah. You guys obviously, like I said, got off to a great start, and the offense was great, but the defense was pretty magnificent as well. You beat Wisconsin 31-7 up in Madison, and the old nemesis Purdue was dispatched pretty easily, 34-15. But you look at the defense, gave up 7-0, 6-0, 7-0, except for the game at Pitt. Just a dominant defensive performance. So you guys had it clicking on all sides. At what point in the season was Coach saying, or was it clear that you guys had a shot at a national title?
Well, we weren't thinking about that. We were just going day to day, practice to practice, concentrate on what's in front of you. Mm-hmm. And we didn't talk about, no conversation about a national title.
Yeah.
No, that was not part of it. Just play well in what you're doing, concentrate on what you're doing, and make each play successful.
What was Coach like as a person, as a coach? What was his style like, both one-on-one and with the team?
He didn't waste any words. He was tell you what he wanted done, and that was it. But the intensity was in his voice, and it just came through in his personality. Mm-hmm. But he was not a preachy type guy. Excellent coach, right to the point, and so he didn't waste words or energy.
When did you first start hearing about the possibility of being in the mix for the Heisman Trophy?
Oh, in the last week or two of the season.
Yeah. And then so did it feel like there was more pressure in that regard, or did it just feel like, kind of cherry on top?
No, there was not any more pressure. That was just the press talking. Mm-hmm. It didn't carry any weight with me.
Yeah.
I did start hearing about Butkus, Tucker Frederickson, mm-hmm. Some of the big names, Namath, of course. But we had that national schedule.
Yeah.
We played in the East with Pittsburgh and Navy, the West, UCLA and Stanford, and in the Midwest, of course, Michigan State and Iowa and Purdue. So we had a real spread out opportunity for people to see us, and they did.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about that Pitt game. Do you remember anything about that one, the 17-15 game at Pittsburgh?
I remember a screen pass that I think was called screen pass middle to Nick Eddy. And you fake as a quarterback. We're about midfield and go back pedal, dump the ball to Nick Eddy. And he grabs it, breaks up and to the right, picks up a few blocks and goes about 50 or 60 yards for a score. I remember that well.
That must have been a big play, for that year, and just to bring the team together and really give you guys a lot of momentum, huh?
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, we were pretty good, but Pittsburgh was good too.
And then the famous game in the Coliseum, setting aside the result, the disappointment of that, how cool was it to be back in the region where you grew up, playing in the Coliseum? Probably played against people who you knew from high school, I would imagine. What was that experience like, coming back and getting a chance to play in your final game?
Well, to come back and play in the Coliseum was just monumental, and we did well. And the history on that is we were up 17-0 at halftime, seemed to be in control of the game. Then later it switched around, and we had scored, but it was called back due to a holding. But when you look at the film, the person accused of holding, he didn't touch anybody. He just fell to the ground. So it was a very mysterious call when you run it back on film. Mm-hmm. And anyway, USC went on to score at the end of the game, and Fred Hill caught a nice ball, and Mike Garrett was ripping off 10 yards at a time. And they went on to beat us. But it was a great game, a greater game for USC. But over the years, there's been a terrific rivalry.
Yeah.
And when both teams are good, that's really fun football.
For sure. Was that the one game, though, did that game take a while the pain of that game, was it tough for a while, or did you just get over it?
No, I got over it.
Yeah.
get over and go on to something else.
Sure. Tell me about when you found out that you won the Heisman Trophy. What was the process like, and what was your reaction, and what did you do? Who'd you tell?
There's a guy named George Keenan who was on my floor at Walsh Hall, and he heard the phone ring, and he went down, answered the phone, then he shouted down the hall, "John, you got it." That's how I found out I won the Heisman Trophy.
And then what'd you do?
I called my parents.
Yeah.
Gave them the news. They were all excited. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And arranged to fly to New York to be there for the grand ceremony. So it was very exciting.
And back then, I believe Notre Dame didn't accept bowl invitations, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So this was kind of like maybe like your back then the bowls were a reward for the season. This was kind of like maybe your reward, getting to go to New York, getting the Heisman. What was that whole process like? Had you been to New York before?
Had not.
And then, going to the Downtown Athletic Club. Tell me about some of the old Heisman winners you met there at the dinner gala.
Oh, we met a lot of the old guys.
Yeah.
Of course, I knew a number of them from before. Angelo Bertelli, who had been quarterback, and Leon Hart, big man. And those are just two that come to mind. Johnny Latner, halfback out of Chicago. But it was just very exciting. All of a sudden, you're part of the group with a Heisman Award.
Yeah. What was the thing you remember the most about that weekend?
Oh, that my parents had a good time. They had a red carpet treatment. And at the airport, they had rolled out a red carpet, which...
Literal red carpet for you guys. Wow.
Which my mom really liked. And so it was exciting for the family, for your parents to come and be honored.
Yeah. Well, tell me about when you left Notre Dame. What was your career in football like? And you eventually got into private business. Tell me about how you transitioned to NFL and then eventually to private life.
Well, I was drafted by the Jets. That was mainly to help them sell tickets, which it did. And I didn't play with the Jets. And I never had a start. I was bounced around from team to team. But I never had a start in 8 years of pro football.
Yeah.
I was just a backup with a few scattered passes that didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So that didn't work out for me. So I had 8 years, but never a start. And which is, I look back on it now, I'm lucky, I'm healthy, pretty healthy.
Yeah.
And then I got into business. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But my brother Greg was in the tile business. I started to help him, distribution of tile. And then I hit on the idea of starting my own company called Arizona Tile. So we started that, and it's growing now. We have about 1,000 employees.
Wow.
30 branches stretching from Houston to Seattle. And we do a lot of granite and marble.
Yeah.
And it's turned into a pretty strong company. I have the blessing of my 2 sons, and a grandson has joined us. And Joe Kennedy's our president. He's my son-in-law. And they're all pushing things along.
Yeah.
Day to day, much like football, you try to go day to day and be the best you can.
Was it a hard transition, just giving up sports, and you've been competitive in sports all your life, from a young age, high school, college, NFL, to trade in the cleats and just be a businessman from that point on?
No, not really. It was quite natural. All the times out in practice, I was standing behind somebody like Lenny Dawson, and they're running plays, and I'm thinking about what am I going to do aside from football? And I wasn't quite sure. I'd worked in a bank. I'd been a stockbroker in Wall Street, and a real estate license in California. And then my group of friends would go on look at homes, and it'd come out and they'd say, oh, it had Italian ceramic tile on the floor. Little light bulb goes on in my head. So they really like this stuff, and these people look at homes all day long, every day.
Yeah.
And my brother was in that business. I decided to help him. And that's where I got acclimated. In the first year of business, we made a little bit of money. In the second year, a little more. The third year, a little more. And it just kept growing the company.
Yeah.
So it was very exciting to build a company.
How much do you know about tile? Are you like an expert on
Not
ceramics?
too much. It's really sales and distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have people who know what they're doing working with you?
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
Yeah. So college football has changed quite a bit since you played. You still follow it pretty closely?
Yeah, I kind of generally follow it, and it's changed a lot. And it remains to be seen if that's going to work out with the money that's flowing back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good, but that's where it's at.
Yeah. You recently, I think 2022, were back at Mater Dei. Of course, Mater Dei, the cradle of Heisman's there. Yourself, Matt Leinart, Bryce Young. What was that like going back to your old stomping grounds and being with those other guys and being in that community again?
It was very exciting, and Mater Dei has gone on to be very powerful. The good coaching and a strong tradition. And they've been able to repeat year after year and attracting good players. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them have gone to USC. Mm-hmm. And they're very good. So the program has been strong. It's got a number of guys who went on to the pros.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing.
Did you get a chance to meet Matt Leinart when he won and Bryce Young when he won as well?
I did. Fine guys. Matt's terrific. Had some great years with the Trojans. And Bryce is also a real good athlete.
Yeah.
And more quarterbacks can throw, and they can also run.
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
Well, you had 3 rushing touchdowns as a senior too, so you didn't, so you were able to move a little bit. It appears
a little bit, yeah. Yeah, we had one play. There was a signal system that I would be in the huddle and look through the player's legs. I could see Ara about 40 yards away. He'd have a white card in his hand, and we had to set up signals. Sweep right, fan pass right, screen left, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I'd look over through the legs of the guys, and I could see what Ara wanted. Well, we had the ball, and we're going south at the Notre Dame Stadium against Michigan State. And the signal I could see out there's quarterback keeper. I go, oh, okay. So we break the huddle, and I think, boy, you better make a good fake. Mm-hmm. So I got 2 backs behind me in I formation. One is Nick Eddy, and the other is Joe Farrell. I take the snap, I reach back as far as I can and put it in the arms of Nick Eddy. And he's going off right tackle, and I pull the ball out. And I go around right end, and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
And I run about 20-some yards for a score. So they all think, oh, he's a great runner. Yeah, if nobody tackles me.
Yeah. You were smart enough to figure out how to get out of there.
I thought, you better make a good fake, because otherwise you got it.
Yeah. Was there a time when as you were developing, when Coach Parseghian came, and was there a time when he was hard on you? Did he have expectations of you, so therefore he was harder? Or was he more the kind of coach that was more of a positive reinforcement? Positive
reinforcement. Mm. Never hard on me. Even if I did something wrong, I thought I really didn't. Pretty much did what he wanted and followed his instruction. So, Ara never came down on me verbally. Never did.
Everyone talks about the Notre Dame mystique. For those who haven't been to Notre Dame Stadium, it's really the mecca of college football. I personally think that if you had one game to watch college football, that's where you'd watch it. What was it like just being part of that tradition? And back then you were a lot closer to the really like tremendously storied, almost mythical times of, Bertelli and Hart and Latner and Lujack. And what was it like being in that era, and then later on as you got older, just reflecting back on being a part of it all?
It was very exciting, and of course, a lot of that is under Coach Leahy. Leahy was dominant, and you had those big names that we would celebrate. Then beyond that, it was just scramble and do the best you can. Mm-hmm. But you have to have the coaching. If you don't have the coaching really put together the way it should be, you probably won't do much. And that's just like the SEC today. The coaches that are really good, they stand out and they win most of their games, many of them dominantly.
Yeah. Who are some of the coaches? I mean, speaking of that, who are some of the coaches you admire these days?
Oh, I don't follow it that close as much. I pretty much stay in the tile business.
Right.
So there's a lot of good coaches.
Yeah.
But they have to have the right combination of players and assistant coaches. So it's really management, how you manage the group.
Yeah.
That's a key element.
Did Coach Parseghian's management style influence you as a manager later on in life?
Yeah, I think so, yes. Keeping your nose to the grindstone, not being too talkative. Mm-hmm. It's mostly by demonstration.
Yeah. Where do you keep your Heisman Trophy?
It's at Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana.
Where did you keep it before you left it there?
On my daughter's piano.
What would people's reaction be if they came, if like say your daughter's friends came over, or maybe the family of them came over who would know what the Heisman was? Was it always a thing of wonder in your house when people came by?
Well, it kind of was, especially for young people.
Yeah. And
of course, one of my daughters decided to put speckle all over the Heisman. She thought it was kind of dull.
Oh my God.
She wanted to dress it up, so she put a little sticky speckle all over my Heisman, which was all right. It lasted for a while.
Well, hey, it's if it ever gets lost, you know which one is yours. There's probably some speckle hanging about. Well, John Huarte, thanks for coming on the official Heisman Trophy podcast. We really appreciate you taking the time and opening up your lovely home to the show. It's really exciting to be here in person talking with you, and hopefully we'll see you next time you're out in New York.
Very good. And thank you for your time and coming to my home and doing this presentation. And I'm extremely fortunate to have been part of the Heisman group. So I appreciate that very much.
Well, one of the great Heisman winners of all time, and also someone dear to my heart as a Southern California native, also being a Southern California native, being part of that group in that period. I talked with Gary Beeman about this recently. Terry Baker, Oregon State. He was from Minnesota, but you being from the West Coast, even though you won it for Notre Dame, and then Mike Garrett, Gary Beeman, Plunkett, all those guys, kind of a really strong period for people who came out of West Coast football.
Yeah, it really is. A lot of good ball players there.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks so much for tuning into this week's official Heisman Trophy podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to like, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Your support helps us reach more listeners just like you and keeps us motivated to bring you great content each week. Don't forget to follow us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more. Any other feedback or questions, just email us at pod@heisman.com. That's pod@heisman.com, or drop me a note on x.com @HeismanPundit. The official Heisman Trophy podcast streams every Wednesday during the college football season and is hosted, co-produced, edited, and engineered by Chris Houston. Paul Goldberg is the executive producer and editor. Special shout out to Isaac Lowenkron, and big thanks to the Heisman Trophy Trust and its executive director Rob Whalen and associate director Tim Henning. The official Heisman Trophy podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find clips of our show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Just go to @Heisman Trophy.